say, there is no so much content in the SCM world in the network in posted or videos or something. So it's always good to speak about warehouse management and SCM process. So today I want to talk about something that I'm implementing, which is warehouse management only mode. And we are going to speak a lot of it and all the different scenarios. And this started for me in a project in Guatemala, which it was kind of multiple companies working in one big warehouse. So the standard SCM didn't have this capability to fill up these scenarios. So with this new way to see, or different way to see the warehouse in Dynamics, we could implement that big thing. Okay. So I'm going to present myself a little bit. So I'm Mariano Martinez Melo. I'm originally from Argentina, the land of Maradona, Messi, and Pope Francis. And
Super. Yeah.
and I'm the principal solution architect. I've been working with Dynamics for about 15 and 16 years. Started in the older versions, the AX 09 and 4.0, and then going forward in the time. I'm a Microsoft MVP for the last year. Hopefully we can renew this year. I'm an MCT also. And I am an author, I co-author this amazing book, which is Becoming a Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management Functional Consultant Associate, which is related to all SCM process in a basic way to see it, starting from the very basic of it and going forward in your knowledge to be not such an expert, but to cover all of the modules that the CM have, from starting with inventory to supply chain scenarios and master planning and planning optimization and so on. So it's a really good way to start with the SCM world and going forward to the certification. And this is also my network. If you want to contact me via LinkedIn, I have my own blog. It's mostly in Spanish because I'm a Spanish speaker, and I'm looking forward to grow the Spanish community. And also I have a YouTube channel and so on. So starting with the agenda today, we're going to give an introduction of warehouse only mode. We're going to see some different scenarios and deployments about this tool. We're going to do a deep dive in architecture. So how is this work? How is integrating between systems and so on? And we are going to see some demos on not so deep demos, but just an introduction so you can know the scope of this functionality. Okay. If you have any questions, I don't know if you have some format or so, but if anyone has any question and want to interrupt me, I'm eager to. So you could do it anytime, or we can do a Q&A at the end. If you have some question that you noted, is okay for me.
Fine. So I think it's up to the audience how they want to take the question, since the audience is not very big. That is a good thing, I would say, because they can ask whenever they want. But I would prefer, if the question is much complicated, then maybe after the session, during the Q&A we can take the session.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. as you say, it's a family, you know.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm
we are
sorry for
few, so
interrupting. Go
we
ahead. Yeah.
no problem. So to start from the basic, warehouse management only mode is a functionality that started from integrating warehouse management from other systems. You know, that was the starting point of this functionality, and it was evolving from time to time. From, I think that the Microsoft released this in the version 10.0.36, so a couple of years ago, and start with that to integrate in, for example, SAP or Business Central or another system to F&O to use the warehouse management process. So from that, Microsoft started evolving to such point that you could create a legal entity in Dynamics, which is only dedicated for warehouse management, and that's it. And you can integrate this process to another ERP, so another systems that is going to you're going to use or post the financials of this process. So you could have, for example, a purchase order. That purchase order integrates into F&O, and you process all the warehousing and all the supply chain flow to it. And finally, at the end of the stage, you integrate again to post those financial and those updates to the main ERP system. That's the key idea of this. And you could have different scenarios because in the older versions, in the standard warehouse management that Dynamics got built in, if you have your own legal entity and you want to integrate with another or have a CPT or a main warehouse, a central distribution or something like that between multiple companies, in the older versions you could not have that possibility. So this allows you to have inventory from any legal entity that you could have, or even if you are a third-party logistic, a 3PL, you could integrate from your vendors or of your customers these goods, stored in your warehouse, do all the logistics, and then post invoices to them, so you could charge for your service. You know, so this is the way that it simplifies the operations of the 3PLs and so on. So working with scenarios, this is the simplest scenario that the warehouse management only mode had, because you could integrate your purchase or sales orders to supply chain management. I don't have a pointer here. So you could integrate from one system to another. So if you have here an SAP or a Business Central or any system that you have, and you want to integrate your purchase order, for example, what you do is create a purchase order in an external ERP. Then it's going to send the purchase order message to this messaging middleware that supply chain has built in. And then that information is arriving to your legal entity that is only processing warehouse management. And this integration arrives as a message on supply chain management, and that becomes an inbound on an outbound shipment order. Okay? So it's not a purchase order into supply chain management, but is bringing a new entity, which is an inbound or an outbound shipment order, and it's like a simplified way of saying, okay, I'm bringing inventory in or out of my company or this warehouse. Okay, so this is the simplest scenario, and as I said, supply chain has built-in API, built-in methods, and so on that you could check it out in the Learn page. I'm going to share these links at the end of the presentation. And you could test it out with the Postman and so on. So this is the simplest scenario that you could have. Again, if you have a company with SAP and you want to use the Dynamics 365 warehouse management system, you could do it. You could do it like this, and it's the easiest way. Another scenario is when you have an only deployment of supply chain and you have multiple legal entities. And for those legal entities, you want to share the warehouse. You have a unique distribution warehouse for every legal entity. So you mixed inventory in the same warehouse. Okay. What you could do is create your companies as a separate legal entity. So you could have here the legal entity 1 and number 2 with different inventory, different, for example, financials and so on, and then create a third legal entity, which will be the warehouse only mode legal entity, which has no financials on it, and you could integrate with your own legal entity. So when you create a sales order or a purchase order, it's going to create different orders into the different inbound or outbound shipment orders into the warehouse only mode legal entity. And once you finish with that, it's going to integrate backwards. Okay. This is the second scenario. One use case for this scenario that we implement or I implemented in the past was for a car dealership company. When they was dealing with spare parts of these cars, the warehouse was centralized. So they have different brandings, and each legal entity represents for a separate branding and so on. So when they mixed this all inventory, they needed to know which was the owner of this inventory. So what we did was implementing this and integrating with the owner dimension on the warehouse only mode legal entity. Okay. If you could do it in one big company with separate inventories, you couldn't do it because the standard SCM and the standard warehouse management module didn't allow or does not allow you to have an owner dimension or an owner tracking dimension in your process. But with warehouse only mode, you could. I don't know why it's separated like that, but this is how it works. Okay. And you could have, for example, a third scenario where you can have an hybrid integration. Okay, with the mixture of the previous two. So you could have an external ERP working messaging, I don't know, an SIP messaging the Dynamics 365, and in the same legal entity, you could have purchase and order and processing your warehouse management as it is. So you could have your own company with your own inventory that is having spare space in the warehouse, and you use that space for another company or for another of your companies that have an SIP or any other external ERP system that is going to use that integration. Okay, so in this case, you could have, for example, these two items, and you order some quantity, you will have reflected on your warehouse management, but also a purchasing and sales processing from your own legal entity that is going to work with your inventory as well. So you could separate the process, you could have it all together, and so on. The most important part of this functionality is that it uses the standard and the basic warehouse management built-in solution that we all know. So you don't have to activate a new functionality or using another module to work with this. The same process that you apply for your warehouse is the same process that you will apply for warehouse management only mode. So this is an important part because this is built in the standard application. Okay. So how is working this? How is the system flowing between two systems, and how is updating from one way to another? So for example, when we talk about the inbound flow, and we step in the scenario that we have an external system, what is well, the external system is here reflecting in blue, and the warehouse management or our dynamics with the warehouse only mode is in orange. What we can see here is that when you create a purchase order on an external ERP, an inbound shipment order message is sent to warehouse management. Then you process the receiving, the put away, and you notified the receiving completed to the external system. This step is different between the normal purchase order and receiving process that the WMS system have, because you need to communicate that the receiving process is completed to the ERP. This allows you to update information into the external ERP, for example, or if you have a different or separate legal entity, you're going to notify to the legal entity. And finally, when you process the shipment receipts and so on, is going to send another business event, another receiving advice to the external system to allow the other ERP that have the financial part to finalize the purchase order processing, doing the invoicing, updating cost, and so on. One important part that I missed out is that this company or this warehouse or the items that work with warehouse management only mode, doesn't track costs. Okay. So costing is in the external legal entity or in the external ERP system. That simplifies things a lot. Another process is the outbound flow. So if you create a sales order or, for example, a transfer order to another warehouse, you are going to receive an outbound shipment order message into the Dynamics 365 system. So you're going to receive this shipment order, or you're going to process this message to create the shipment order. Then you're going to release that to the warehouse. It's going to work with the waiving and all the words that you have. At that release point is going to create a business event to inform the progress that is going to be picked, is going to be picked and work in the warehouse. You're going to see it in the sales order that is going to create a work, and you can see the work near real time, you would say. Then when the waving and the work is completed, you're going to confirm that shipment, and it's going to again update the shipment confirmation to the external ERP. And then when the shipment and the packing, you do the packing slip and all the information, you can go and update the dispatch advice and all the document information to the external ERP or the other company, and then finalize the sales order process by invoicing in the external ERP. One important part of this is not working altogether with the transportation management system. I don't know why, but warehouse management only mode is not integrated with the TMS as we speak. That would be a nice upgrade that Microsoft could work on, but at this time it's not have that possibility. You could create the loads and work with the loads and so on, but you could not let's say like uh, plan your dispatch and plan your transportation process the way that the warehouse management has. Okay? And another thing to mention is when you work with this scenario, you could have a complex type of scenario. We're going to speak about in a minute about this, but for example, you could have your centralized warehouse, and your centralized warehouse uh, could or could not have the ownership of the information, the product information management. Okay, so in order with that, this part of the of the process could be sideways or not. Okay, so for example, if you create a new product in the external ERP, you could send that master data updates to the warehouse management only mode, and then updating all the on-hands information and so on. But in some cases, you could have the scenario that the warehouse management only mode or this external warehouse is the one that is centralizing, for so to speak, centralizing the master data of every other company around it. Okay, this is possible to do, and you could set it up. You're going to see in the demo. So if you do I don't know, a description change or something that you could change about the product, you could integrate that to other systems via this business event. Okay, and obviously you could request the on-hard update information from external system to FNO, and each time you do, you're going to send this business event and this message to the external ERP to update this on hand and so on. For example, if you do an inventory adjustment because I don't know, you do accounting or something and you need to adjust the inventory, you're going to send this information to the external ERP, so the external ERP can update this financial information of the adjustment and do a costing and updating this financial information. Okay. I simplified a lot because you have multiple scenarios that you could do, but this is okay for an overview. But you could have different scenarios and different information that travels from one system to another. So what I want to show you in the demo is a sample scenario that could have something like this, where we have this centralized distribution warehouse and it's integrated with 3 legal entities. And in the demo, I integrated with one just to show you how it's going to work. And what we can do here is having different legal entities with different ownership of the inventory, and process it everything in the warehouse only mode legal entity. Okay, so let's jump into AX, and we are going to see this in detail. Okay, so let's see like this. So what I did is I created, go to the starting page. So I have here the USMF company. Oh, this to another screen. This USMF company. The USMF company is going to work as the warehouse only mode company. So this is my external warehouse company, and I'm also having another company, which is the USPI. I use the Contoso data for this. So you have the USPI company, which is going to work as my financial company, which I'm going to process my purchase orders or sales orders and so on. So this is my two different companies. Okay. So in the first step that we need to do, we need to configure these source systems. Okay, if you go to warehouse management, you're going to see at the end of the setup part this warehouse management integration menu. Sorry. I heard someone speaking. I think that this was a question. Sorry. So you could have this warehouse management integration part. For example, all of these are setup that you could do. Most of it are aligned with the idea that you could integrate with other systems, for example. So you could create a consigners and consigners group and so on. So information about the vendors and the customers that you're going to process, because as it simplifies a lot the purchase and sales order process, you're going to see that the information that it's like asking for this integration is quite few. So instead of creating a vendor and creating a customer and so on, it's going to create consigners and consignees for this information. But the important part of this is to create these source systems. So this is the source system is the setup for the integration between one system and another, or between one legal entity and another, and it's going to have here all the information needed and all the setup needed when creating and updating a message to between systems. Okay. In here I have one that I call PIM, which is the Product Information Management Source System. You could create this to say, okay, I'm going to reflect that the information that we have in our warehouse management only company or legal entity is going to be the master information for every company. So when you create this source system as product information management, you're going to set up all the items here and the source system number and the item type and so on. So with this, you're going to say, okay, this item that I have created in my company in this warehouse only mode legal entity is going to have the information for everyone else. So any update that I have in this company is going to be notified and integrated with all the other legal entities. And once you create one source system of the item numbers and the product information management, you could associate it here in the product master source system, and with this you indicated, okay, this system, the source system, this company is going to have all this information. And I'm going to going into the setup. You could see here, well, in the general tab, you have this product master source system, and you could say which is the default inventory owner for this system. This allows you to having multiple companies and define this default inventory owner dimension. For example, if you put here the PIM is going to activate this, and having all the companies that are related to this source system. Okay, I'm going to erase that because it's hard to process. In the outbound shipment orders, you're going to set up how these orders are going to be created, how the other system or the other legal entities are going to notify about the sales order or the transfer order that we could have. And with that, you could check if you are going to create those or you're not going to create those orders. For example, the outbound shipment fulfillment policy is going to check if you want to create an outbound shipment order, which quantity or how much quantity are going to fulfill for this order to be created in the system. Okay, if I'm going to reserve some inventory from the external ERP and create this outbound shipment order, you could have all the inventory or not so much. So with this setup, you're going to control that. Are we going to create the the outbound shipment order with 100% of fulfillment policy or not? So this setup is pretty simple, and it's only to check the fulfillment rate that you could do it by price or quantity. And if I violate this this rate, is going to give me a warning in this case. Or you could set up that it's going to give you an error in some cases. So again, the outbound shipment processing policy is going to enforce that if the shipment order has to match one-to-one to the customer order in this case, or the legal entity. So that is going to control this policy. I'm going to mention the most important setup here, but when you import, you can reserve or delay the reservation. If you reserve when the message came or the order is created, you could have a reserving process. So most of the time you delay the reservation. So if you have a problem, a stock problem or something that is not adding up, you could reverse that or doing some reservation or notify to the other system, hey, I don't have the inventory and so on. So this is another important parameter. Another parameter is when you're testing, this is like new functionality or new possibility that came this year. So when you are testing, you could enable this creation, the manual creation. We're going to do this manual creation of this shipment order to test if every parameter and every process that you have is going to work. And then you could deactivate once you are integrating with other systems. So you block the possibility to create manual orders in this company. Okay. Same applies for the inbound shipment order. You have mostly the same parameters, and in both you have this use the number sequence, and you could add a prefix and a suffix to this order to identify if you have one company as the example and multiple legal entities that are integrating with this. You could have the differentiation between every number with these prefixes. And again, if you have, for example, some types of external order, you could separate and process it differently with this delivery policy that you could have. Okay, this is the most important parameters. The good thing about this is everything is well documented in this case for this solution in the Microsoft Learn, so you could check it out, and it's good to know this. So I'm going to create in my other company, going to create a purchase order so we can integrate it to this USMF company. So another setup that is important here is in the financial company, the company that's going to create the orders, you need to go to warehouse management and set up the external warehouse management system. So what you are going to say here is that when you are using this warehouse, this warehouse which is called USMF, in this USPI company is going to integrate with a source system. This setup is telling the system, okay, once I use this, you need to use this source system to create the outbound shipment order or the inbound shipment order in another legal entity. And this warehouse also, you need to set up, so in the warehouse, let's check it out real quick. In the warehouse parameter, if you go to warehouses, you create this USMF warehouse. I give it a name as external warehouse, but you need to activate the warehouse management process, and you will have here the external warehouse parameters where you are going to say, okay, when I use this warehouse, is going to be externally managed. The external warehouse management system is USMF, is the company that is going to use this, and in that company use the warehouse 24, which is the warehouse from the other company. And these two locations are default location for the inventory. So once I ship or once I receive this unit, this stock in this external warehouse, in my company, in this USPI company, are going to going to be stored in this default location, which is the external warehouse location. Okay, this is the biggest parameter that you will have. So what I'm going to do now is create a purchase order. So I'm going to go here into the procurement and sourcing, all purchase orders. And in here, I'm going to hit new, create another purchase order. And in here, I'm going to say, okay, it's the USMF warehouse. So it's my external warehouse. I'm going to process it outside my company. So I'm going to click OK. And I have this item, which is set up for working with warehouse only mode. Okay. This item didn't have a really different setup. It's the same as any product that you could have. Even in this case, it's not using, sorry, in this case, it's not using warehouse management processes for this item. You could set up as it is. So in my case, it's site warehouse and location only. You could set up as a warehouse management item or not. It's okay for that. Costing is important because this company is going to have all costings, even though I'm going to process in another legal entity. So costing is going to be updated as the policy that you have here in the item model group. And the item group is important, but this is a simple item that is set up here. So what I'm going to do is going to receive like 10 units for this item at $50 into this warehouse. So I'm going to save it. Then I'm going to confirm this purchase. And once I confirm this order, I'm going to release the warehouse. So even though I don't have these operations in my house, I'm going to update to the other company and say, hey, I need to receive this. So I'm going to release. You're going to receive this message that says purchase order sent to external warehouse management system USMF. So I send this purchase order to the other company to say, okay, I need to receive this item in the external warehouse. So if we change to the USMF company, we're going to navigate here. You will see these new menus, which is the outbound shipment and inbound shipment orders. So you're going to navigate into this to the shipment order message. And you see that I received this message, which is from the external system, the order that is 39, which is the same that we have in the other company, which is the receiving warehouse, which is the source system that created this order, and the item information. As you can see, we don't have this is like a simplified way to see a purchase order, because we don't have any financial information in here. The only information we have is the consignor name and number, but in our case, in this company, it's not even going to be created as a vendor. It's not going to be created as anything. So the only thing we have is this. So what we are going to do here is hit process. We could set up this an automated process about it. Okay. And when we hit process, it's going to change the status to accepted. This meaning that an inbound shipment order was created based on this message. So if I change here to inbound shipment orders, I'm going to see this order created, which is the last one, 39. And it's having a open status. So from here, I'm going to receive it as any purchase order. The process is the same as any purchase order. The only difference is that I have to set up everything for the inbound shipment order type. Okay, so I'm going to change to, this is my cell phone, sorry for my dog there. So I'm going to log into my warehouse management app. Okay, so I'm here in my main menu. In the inbound menu, I created this one, which is the inventory shipment receipt and put away. So this is important because you have to create a different menu for this. and you will not use the same as the purchase receipt because it's a different type of order. So you need to create a different menu item. So once you enter this menu, it's going to say to you, okay, write the order number or the load. So I'm going to scan it and so on. So I'm going to process this. It says, okay, tell me which is the item number. I'm going to type in 361 intro. It's going to check that and say, okay, how many quantities is going to receive. The same process that we have when we receive a purchase order. Okay, so it's going to create this, and it says it's going to be received in the receive location. So check that out. I'm going to say okay, and now it's going to process the put away. So now it's in my receiving dock, and it's going to automatically send it to the put away location, which is this one, the BULK002 with this license plate that is showing in the bottom of the screen, the 1311. So I'm going to confirm that. Now I have that in receive it. So if I update this information here, it's going to be received in the word details. You're going to see that everything is processed as the way that the warehouse management app says. So it's received in the bulk 002 location. But if you see here, the receiving status is still open. So we don't inform to the financial system that we received this item. So we need to do that. This is the different step that we have from the purchase order processing from the warehouse management system. So we need to say, okay, this load is received. So we enter this menu, the receiving completed, and we need to say, okay, this load is finally arrived, and we're going to mark as confirmed. So we need to scan the load ID, and we're going to confirm, say, okay, this is the vendor number, this is the load ID, and this is the shipment ID. And we are going to inform to the other system that this is okay, this is well received. So I'm going to confirm this. This is well completed. And now once we update here, it's going to be received. The receiving status is received, and it's going to generate a message. I think it's here, a message to the external system that they say, hey, I received this warehouse shipment order shipment update. So update it to the external system. So I'm going to process it. You could set up an automatic process for this message processor. It's not mandatory that you click that. So now we say one record is processed. So it's going to update the information for the purchase order. And if you see here in the inventory of the other company, you will see that okay, it's going to expand this. It's going to see that you have like 30 units in your external warehouse, and you process the last transaction of the order 39 of 10 units. Now you have to create the invoice and so on, but you are now in the external company doing that. Okay, so this is the purchase order process. If you go to the sales order, it's pretty much the same. I'm not going to dive deep in that process, but I could show you that in the outbound shipment orders, if you are testing or you receive an outbound shipment, you could create it from here. So you can click new from the outbound shipment order and create it as you are testing something like that. So, sorry, skip my keyboard. So you could put an account number here or write something. It's not going to be mandatory to create an account number, so you could like Ramit, for example, is my customer here. So this is the delivery address, and again, I'm going to ship it from warehouse 24 because I'm here in the USMF company. So I'm going to ship it from my main warehouse, and you could create an at least line from this product and so on. So I'm going to ship 5. Again, I'm going to save it, and in this case, you need to release I think it's released anyways. So once you release, it's going to check if your fulfillment rate is okay. What this is saying to you is, okay, you have a fulfillment rate of 100% and it was not met. So what happened here? It is the same that we have in the sales orders. You don't reserve any quantity. So I'm going to hit the reservation part, and here I'm going to release it again. Now it's going to process the waves and so on. So I have my shipment created and it's running the wave on batch. So what we can do is go again to the warehouse management app. And I'm going to go to the outbound menu. Sorry, stopped even this. So give me a second. There it is. So I stuck the application. 24. Easy password. So again, I'm going to go to the outbound menu. And in here, you could see that I have the sales picking and the sales picking system, which is the standard menus for every demo and so on. And here I created this outbound shipment picking because it's not a sales order, it's an outbound shipment, the order that I need to pick. So I'm going to hit that. It's going to say, okay, you need to pick 5 units. So tell me in which location is going to be those 5 units. This is because I didn't set up all of the location directive for this. So I'm going to do manually. I think that is in the bulk 002. Yes, it's here. So I need to copy this and going to paste. So I'm going to pick this from the bulk 002. It's going to say, okay, the Destiny license plate is going to be this one. So check that out. I'm going to hit OK. And now it's saying, okay, where is going to be shipped? So I'm going to write paydor, which is the final destination, to this location. And once it recognizes the paydor location, it's going to ship those orders to there. So that completed the work. And here you will see that going to lower that quantities and update the shipment. So from here, same process that the normal outbound orders or the normal sales orders, you could go into the shipment and confirm the shipment, printing all the orders and so on. And once you confirm and go over this, the system is going to update to the external system. Okay, so in this case, what we see is the both of the integration working together. So in one way, I have the external ERP, which is this one, where I can sell from everything or create from another system as SIP. And in the other way, you could see the other integration, which is from one legal entity to another one. Okay. So finally, I think I'm on time, but finally, it's just to let you know, Microsoft Learn have everything really detailed and well documented for this process. So you could, I think that this is the first time that I see something so well documented on this. For example, if you have to exchange the information between systems, here you have all the detailed business event and method that the system use and how you need to for example, develop the API from the other system to consume these services that are created in FNO. So I really recommend that you go to this to set up all the system. If not, you can ask me. I have no problem. I could help you. And nothing. That's the. I think that covered pretty much everything from an overview perspective. So I don't know if you have some questions or something that you need to know or want to know from this. Q&A slide. You are mute, Ramit.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mariano. It's awesome session. I mean, I would wait for question, but before anyone asks this question, I have one question here. Like, uh, I mean, you mentioned this is a warehouse only mode, right? So
Yeah.
assume that a company having two ERPs, example, very rare scenarios, can they maintain their warehouse in D65 and also can they bring their warehouse data from external system? Can they work parallel?
Yes, they can work parallel. You have some methods to update this master, the product information management, the master data of the products. So you could integrate those, or if you are a 3PL, for example, and you integrate with multiple systems, you could say, okay, FNO could be the source of these items. So you could set up this the source system for the product information management, and the master data is from the FNO to another system. So once you update information, it's going to integrate between everyone. But it depends on the case. I don't think you have this complex scenario where you need to centralize all the items from different systems, but you could have.
Yeah, I mean, uh, that's right. See, some of the cases we have seen, some of the companies actually outsource their warehouse systems, right?
Mhm.
However, they still maintain the ERP, I mean, in the 65. So in that cases, the scenario is opposite. So they are maintaining
Mhm.
they're maintaining their ERP in Dynamics, but their
Yes.
warehouse is outside, and they want to integrate that from the external system. So that's, I mean, that's the opposite one I'm asking. Is it does it work like parallelly, like in ERP, some warehouse system, some warehouse facilities will be there in the 65, and also, some other ERP system or some applications who has warehouses that can bring the data in warehouse, that can it work parallelly?
It's not documented. I didn't test it, but I think it could be because methods are there.
Okay.
So I think you could use it and update it, this information. I would say yes. I would say yes.
Super.
But it's
And
a good use case to test it out.
yeah, great. Thank you so much. So I have one other question which I was just thinking. See,
Yeah.
that's a good thing that if a company wants to take a warehouse only mode, they can only take the warehouse only, and they can
Mhm.
continue with their own ERP system. But what about the license? Does it
That's a
require?
good question.
Yeah. What about the
That,
license?
that's a good question. You will need for the basic license to set up the a company in Dynamics, which is the minimum of 10 and 20 license, depending on the system. But for every worker, licensing is the basic one. So there are the team member licensing. So it's I think $20.
Okay.
I don't remember the pricing, but it's pretty cheap in comparison with a full user. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So it's a the team who will be working as a worker, they need team member license.
yes, because for all the setup and everything, you need to have an SCM license, to create the
Super.
warehousing, to do maintaining and so on.
Great. I have another question. I'm sorry for hijacking. So I was just noting down. So you have implemented this. I'm sure you have implemented this in couple of customers, right? Have you seen any limitations when you when you talk the when you talk about the full-fledged dynamic system of warehouse management, and when it comes to the warehouse only mode? Did you see any limitations when you use this warehouse only mode?
Well, one limitation that you have is, for example, the transportation management system is disabled. Also, you could not use it in warehouse only mode, which is really it's a limitation. Most of the 3PLs and so work with their own transportation system. So what we did in that is we built some system or some we developed some things to integrate and manage that with Power Automate solutions, Power Up solutions, and to create routes and manage transportation in that way. So, for example, that's a limitation. Even it has another ones, and most are listed here in the in the documentation.
Okay.
As you can see, production flows is not working
Okay.
with this solution. As I said, transportation management system, internal order processing is not provided to the external system. This is if you are transferring from one warehouse to another in the warehouse only mode company, is not going to update it to the external systems and so on. You have limitations and at this time. I think that the way that this upgraded from the first version to now is really you see that it's going to a good way. It's going to deliver a really good product. The first version was really bad, I have to say, because I tested out. I have to test it for these customers and this implementation, and I recommended not to use it until it's a stable solution. Now it's a stable solution. You could use it, but you have these scenarios that you have to tweak something to use it. that's a reality until now. But I think this is going to be released in future releases.
Thank you so much, Mariano. I think we have one question from Tathagata. Yeah, Tathagata, over to you.
Yes, hi, Mariano. So
Hi.
thanks for the session. So it was wonderful. So maybe I joined late. So I have few couple of questions. First
Okay.
is, can we have the production picking also in the same system? So the raw material picking part. And the second question is for the stock update, can we have the regular replenishment cycle on in this warehouse also? In the
You
warehouse
could
mode
have
warehouse?
production flows or production orders, but it's not going to be integrated with the outbound shipment orders. No, you will have if you have production there, it's okay, but you could not, for example, uh, create a production order from the sales order in the external system. So if you are doing something like make to order, you could not create the production order to the external system to your warehouse only mode and then started the production flow there. So you have some limitations. You could use, but you have some limitations in the when you integrate in the outbound shipment on the production flow. I
Okay.
do not recommend that you have it there because you could have some limitations. It's mostly for 3PL companies. We are logistic only, and you don't have production scenarios.
Yes, yes, because I would say the last project which I was working on, so we actually had an 3PL warehouse integrated. So is what I
Mm,
understood is that it's kind of a similar replica of that 3PL warehouse, what Microsoft
yeah,
has just brought on. Yes.
yeah. For example, I thinking that we can test here is if you create a production order and you have to ship it to an external warehouse to do some, I don't know, tweaking or I don't know, something, and then bring it back to the production flow, you could create a transfer order to another company which has one, and then working in the external system, and then post it out to your main production site. I think that is the only process that I could see that is going to work. Or if you have a de-attached production flow in between your warehouse, that could work for you. That's the only two things that I
Mm.
think that is going to work for you. I know a make to stock production scenario where you're going to hit production orders regardless of the sales order that you have. It's not mandatory. I think that is going to work.
Okay. Thank you, Marian.
No problem.
Uh, I don't have any question. And is there any question from the people? I guess no. I don't think we have questions. I think we have covered lot of things today. Mariano, thank you so much for your time. I know it's a morning time in Chile, and
Yeah,
I would say from our place, uh, very common thing between us is we are also Argentine fan, like Diego Maradona and Messi. So yeah. So thank you so much, Mariano. I mean, I hope to meet you soon. I will deploy this, or I will upload this. I mean, deployment is in my mind. So I will upload this in my YouTube channel. So I will share this with everyone and with you also. Thank you so much. And thank you so much,
no,
everyone, for your time in the weekend. Thank you. And have a nice weekend, everyone. Thank you, Mariano.
thank you. Thanks everyone, and thank you to join. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.